excited that today we get to introduce you to our dear friends Dusty and Ann Hammock. Britt met Dusty when he was a little kid, so he's going to tell you about it.
Yes, I think I've known you since I was 9 years old.
Yeah,
or something
close.
like 1973 or 4 or somewhere in there. We were at the same church, and Dusty's dad was on staff at our church that we all went to, and we were in the kind of the youth group and the youth choir and everything together. And so my whole growing up was impacted by Dusty and his family, and our families were really close. Our parents were close, and so I'm really blessed that that God has seen fit to add Dusty and Ann to our team, to the Mountain Gateway team. He's hopping into the leadership with us and has lots of experience in over 30 years as a as a pastor in the ministry, and was my brother's roommate in Bible college, and all kinds of deep history that if I start talking about that, I'll kind of lose my composure. So I'm super grateful that the Lord is, I'm just grateful for what he's doing, and grateful that he's increased our connection in a way that is beyond just the relational equity that we've had really virtually all my life. And when Audrey and I were, I think we were dating or engaged. When we got engaged, you have people in your relationship and family orbit that are important to you, to meet the people that are important to you. And so the Hammocks were one of those families that Audrey had to meet. And so that can give you an idea of kind of how long we've
And another thing I was just thinking about is that in 2014, I believe it was, we got a phone call from Dusty saying, "My daughter is miserable and she just wants to be a missionary. Can you help?" And we were like, "Yes." And so Bailey came into our ministry, and we got to train her in 2015, and she still works with Mountain Gateway. And we were having a staff meeting, and she's like, "So let's get down to the problem. What's the root of this issue? How can we fix this?" And then she's like, "I really think Mom and Dad could fill that role right there." And so Britt went, bing! It's like, oh my gosh, that's the answer. And so he got on the phone, and he started pacing and walking in the field out there by our house. And he was just like, woo, so excited. And I could tell he was stirred in his spirit. And so he began to talk to Dusty and Ann about, is this the next step with this? Is this what we're supposed to do together? Are you supposed to work with us? Would you pray? And so what was that like on your side of the conversation?
Well, it was one of those moments where I can tell you that it was sobering. It felt like time stopped for a minute, because it was a decision that we knew was critical, that if Jesus allowed us to say yes, that would be honor for us. Because even though you talk about how I've been in your life, the kingdom has advanced because of you two. And God has done amazing things through you. And so for us to be able to come alongside and to serve the call of God that's on your life is an honor and a privilege for us. We feel honored that we wanted Jesus to let us do it. We didn't know if he was going to let us do it. And so that's why we said to you, give us some time to talk to Jesus about it and let us talk through it. And we did that, I'm not going to go through all the details of that, but it was a moment where we began to say, Jesus, what is it that you want us to do? Because what you might not have known is that we were in transition at that point in a lot of layers of our life, and we were asking Jesus, give us a yes somewhere. Give us a yes. And then we had to say, is this the yes?
In fact, we were talking about it. One morning he came in, he had been outside praying, and he came in and he said, if these three options were set before you, what would you say yes to? And I said, well, what I feel excited to say yes about would be Mountain Gateway.
Wow.
And the moment we had that, I'm talking the moment we were having this conversation, you called
Wow.
The moment.
And that's kind of a thing with you guys, right? Like often Jesus like interrupts your equation whenever's happening, and so yeah, I'm super. You know, the one another function of the kingdom. You feel blessed. I feel as equally as blessed.
Right. We're amazed.
We're super amazed, and so Dusty and Ann are joining the leadership team kind of on our level, and we're praying about expanding and pursuing God in a greater way, and trying to find more workers for the harvest, and however we can run down the road to follow the steps of Jesus. And you know, God doesn't anoint organizations. People are anointed.
That's right.
And individuals that say yes mean something to God. That's intentional, and that's by design. And so I'm super blessed that Dusty and Ann are jumping in there, and we're, you know, their yes takes faith. Their yes increases all kinds of things, and that's how the kingdom grows. And so I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
You know, about that.
And Ann is going to be working with us as well and helping us to do some administrative things, as well as we're already like, well, Ann could be in this slot and could do this and help us with that, and we get all excited. And so it's not just that it's well, Dusty's going to be do this, but there's an intentionality with all of us together. And so the ability for us to grow and expand is exponential with adding you to the team, and we are super excited. So thank you for adding your yes to Mountain Gateway.
Well, it again, I think at this point it's sort of like, you know, you've been dating for a while, and then Jesus says you can marry her, and then you're like, oh yeah. Well, that's how it felt with us. It felt like we had been dating. We'd had so many connections through the years, and even when we were pastoring, we would have you come and y'all would speak and share, and there was so much that you invested in our church and in our children. There's so many things. And then in the moment in which we were saying yes to Jesus about being a part, really it was not about being a part of Mountain Gateway, was that we would marry.
Yeah.
And that we would come into the family. Cool. And it was not just partnership, but it was grafting in to the family of Mountain Gateway. But the Lord began to remind me of how long He's been preparing, that I didn't see. I didn't see what He was doing. There was moments where I was like, Lord, what was that about? Lord, what was that? What was going on there? And then all of a sudden, it felt like that all the chapters of my life and our journey together were just laid out, and I went, oh yes, that's what you were doing.
Jesus, come on.
And our missions drive and call, and to train and to develop all of that. And now to know that we have the privilege to actually become a part of the prayer of Jesus, which was to send workers in to the harvest, and to make those workers ready. I mean, listen, everyone in the kingdom today that's working according to the call of Christ is sending workers. Everyone.
That's right.
That does not mean that we're sending trained workers and equipped workers into the field. And to know that we have the opportunity to spend the years of our life that Jesus gives us here to not only send workers, but to prepare and train the workers so that when they go into the field, they're effective, they're ready to do what God's called them to do, and most importantly, can hear His voice and know this is the call of God. And now we're going to walk in authority with it. So I think God's maybe prepared us a long time.
I want to say one thing real quick, because this is why this means so much to me. So you mentioned that our daughter was called to the mission field. We made that phone call, and I remembered the time when it was time for her to go. And I went to my closet and I laid on the floor, because I have, like you, Audrey, a mother's heart. Like, my children are, they're everything, right? Our family. And so I had this dream of my children living within a 10-mile radius, of all of them, and having grandchildren and doing all the things. And so it felt like it interrupted my dream. And I laid on the floor and I asked the Lord, why would you do this to me? And He said, excuse me? And I was like, I'm in trouble. But He counseled me And he said, actually, your children are my children
Mm-hmm.
that I chose you to steward. And all of a sudden, I had this great sense of gratitude overwhelm me.
Come on.
That he would have searched the world, who was going to mother these particular children, and he chose me. And my shift of how I began to mother, the change of I'm not mothering, I'm stewarding.
Come on.
And so that profoundly changed my life, impacted my life to where I can release my children into ministry. I can release my children into the plans and purposes of God. And so to be a part of Mountain Gateway, what it means to me is that God has chosen us
Yes.
to be a part of something that is so amazing.
Thank you, Jesus.
And he is allowing us to steward his work. And that feels like the greatest privilege of my life.
And as a dad, you know, when I have to give my daughters away to a man and they marry, you feel very responsible of that moment of decision. And we made the decision, we're about to give our daughter away to a ministry. And what will our daughter be like by being involved in Mountain Gateway? And I want to say to you, the level of confidence that we have in you two and in Mountain Gateway is to the level we will send our kids to you. We did. We sent our daughter to you. And we're so thankful of what Jesus did in her time that she's been with Mountain Gateway. But I wanted you to know, our level of confidence in who Jesus is in you is that we'll send our own kids to you.
Thank you. And I think that that's a beautiful circle because you had to surrender your heart with your daughter. It's a big deal. And now it was through your daughter that the Lord brought you to this yes. And so because you surrendered her, all of the things that Jesus was preparing in you since you were a teenager are making sense in a new way because you are prepared to be able to minister to others in many different areas. And now's the time for that, yes, and it wasn't 15 years ago.
Right.
But
It wasn't
grew up,
even
and then
3 years ago or whatever.
Right, yeah.
You know, now's the time.
Now's the time.
good.
And what I hear is really the resonance of the heart of the Lord of the harvest. You know, because that's our assignment. That's what we're tapped into. That's what He's spoken to me so much about, and we've been following those steps. And I'm just really grateful to Jesus that He's
So excited.
adding yeses, and people are saying yes.
So
And
we are honored.
we are very
We're
honored.
humbled that you said yes to be a part of this and very excited and have great anticipation for the things that are coming.
Yes. So we just wanted to introduce Dusty and Ann. You're going to be hearing from them, in the days and weeks and
Years.
years ahead. Yes.
That's right.
And so we'll just see what Jesus has in store. God bless you all.